I'm pretty sure that we are live. I know everybody. I see it. I see it. There's 5 people watching us. Hi, 5 people that are watching us.
Hi.
Thank you for
Hi,
tuning in.
everybody.
We're having some technical difficulties trying to figure out. We have 5 viewers. We have 1 comment. Ladies, regardless of anything, I am seeing that we are live.
Whatever.
Regardless, we can have our chat. So I'm going to start off with saying hello, Pittsburgh Brides. This is Dawn Takacs, the Point Podcast. We are live on Facebook is what I'm being told. And I'm all new to this as a technology thing that I haven't mastered yet. So I apologize if you are not seeing us, but we're going to share this in the Pittsburgh Brides group so that others can see it as well. My name is Dawn, founder of Pittsburgh Brides. I have 2 dear friends with me. They're both wedding planners. And tonight we're going to talk about planning your wedding and we're going to give you some insight and tips. I have Cara from Caristia Events. Say hi.
Hi, everybody. I am Cara. I am so happy to be here. As I have mentioned before, I'm very grateful, Dawn. I think that these podcasts are going to be very informative and helpful for our Pittsburgh Brides community.
Thank you for that, Cara. I think they will as well. And Taylor from Meyer's Precision Planning. Say hello.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on
Are you,
here. Like Kara was saying, I think these podcasts are great for brides to get a lot of valuable information.
absolutely. And sometimes you just need to hear it, right?
Yeah.
You need some validation on that. So I want to start with a disclosure. This podcast is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice. Please consult with a professional, i.e. the 2 ladies here or any other wedding planner. Please consult with a professional for specific advice tailored to your situation. Where were we? Let's dive right back in. What's one of your favorite money-saving hacks that couples rarely think of?
One thing in general, I know like brides hear about them, and there's actually a great resource through Pittsburgh Brides about actually checking for previous brides' decor. Like sometimes people jump the gun on Prime Day, which ironically is going on right now. But there's a great sale option in Pittsburgh Brides that, and in other places too, that brides don't obviously check out sometimes, and they spend all this money on decor, whereas like some brides only have used something once, and at least then could be reused, and they could save a little bit of money there. Hence, again, in that budget, making room for other stuff you didn't think you might have not have room for. So I think it's sometimes an afterthought. Sometimes, unfortunately, so that's why I'm
Absolutely.
hoping more brides, like as it becomes more popular and everything, they take advantage of that for sure.
More popular. We had 180 people join our group this week. I don't know how much
That
more
is
popular.
awesome.
Girl!
They're killing me. And I don't know if the public in the group really realizes the extent of the work that goes into maintaining a group that has that amount of volume coming in. We can easily get anywhere from 100 to 500 DMs a day of people asking for things, asking to participate, asking questions, asking why their post was denied, asking things. And we do our best to keep up with it. So we appreciate you being polite and patient whenever you send us a message and us getting back to you. It's always better to send a message to me directly. If you send it to one of our social media platforms, it kind of even delays that process further. But yeah, 180. Can you believe that? Is that crazy?
That is incredible.
That's awesome.
It's because of and Dawn, we have to thank you for the work that you do too, because as you mentioned, you put in
Absolutely.
a lot of time. I really appreciate the emphasis on community here at Pittsburgh Brides. That's just it. It speaks volumes, and I love that this is a great space and it's open for everyone and inclusive to all. So
Thank you for that. 13,300 and growing.
Yay!
And even with a big group, like as a new member, I just appreciate how personalized I feel like the service is being a pro on here. Cause like I feel like if I have a problem, I can just reach out to Dawn. And I mean, a group that big, you feel like, oh, you're just gonna send an email, maybe you'll get a response back a few days later, but no, it's like Dawn, like as soon as you have an issue, like she gets back to you. So that's one thing as a vendor, like I truly do appreciate. I give you all the props in the world, Dawn. That's a lot of people.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do have a passion for this, and it's a passion that for involvement that keeps me going. And especially with our young entrepreneurs, like that means a lot to me because when I started my first business at the age of 22, I had all these wonderful mentors that were around me that helped me, that guided me. I think it was President Kennedy that said, if you want to be successful in life, surround yourself with people that are better at what they do than you are. And I did that as a young entrepreneur, and I just made myself a sponge, never claiming that I knew everything or, had all the answers. And even to this day and this age, I'm still learning. If we're not learning, we're not growing. And I think it's really important to take that perspective. And I feel obligated to pay it forward to our young entrepreneurs and, give them any resources and assistance that we can to help their business grow. And I have a lot of friends out there that know that that's my
That
gig.
is indeed true. That's indeed true. And
That's
much
what I like.
appreciated.
Thank you for that.
But look, we need to pave the way for new people to come into the industry, right? Eventually, I'm not going to do this forever. I mean, I'm not saying anytime soon, but eventually I'll become too old to do this. And we need new people on the scene that are full of innovative ideas and fresh energy. So,
And energy.
Yes, and energy.
Yeah.
So I think that's really a great thing that you're doing, and it does not go unnoticed.
Thanks, Cara. I appreciate that. From both of you, I appreciate that. Okay, next question. Are there splurge-worthy areas that are worth the investment when you're planning your wedding? One from each of you. What is a splurge, something that you would recommend that they should do?
Taylor, do you want to go first, or?
For me, it's the food. 100% the food.
Yeah.
Like, I still get people that talk about my food at my wedding, and it was 1,000% worth it. So at least for me, that's one of my top things. That was one thing me and my husband talked about, was that we wanted the food to be good. We didn't want people going home hungry. We had people stacking their plates with food, and that was all I needed to see that day, and it made me happy.
Cara?
I think it goes without saying that it's, really whatever is important to the couple. But one thing that I always say is, worth throwing a little bit of money at is whether, your live entertainment. So whether it's a DJ or a band, because your MC is going to keep things going throughout the evening. So they get your crowd involved. They make sure that the flow of everything is seamless. So I really don't think that's one you want to skimp on. Again, doesn't necessarily equate to money. So there are really great, reasonable DJs and bands out there that can be hired. But I think that you definitely want someone that knows how the flow of a wedding should go. I advise against hiring someone that may be like a club DJ and only knows that environment. Now, we know lots of DJs that work in both and they understand the logistics of a wedding, but they should understand the workings of it, at a fundamental level, I think.
I have two thoughts on this.
Yes.
My first thought is the guilty pleasure for yourself. Make sure you have a great photographer or a great videographer, because that is the one thing that you will take forward and take with you. That's yours. That's for you.
Absolutely.
And speaking to what you both stated is the guest experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of missing on this point from the perspective when you're planning, because we live in a society now that our attention span is very short. We're waiting too long in line to get our food through a drive-through, and we're getting a little antsy, right? Like, we have a much shorter attention span, and having different wonderful elements at your reception, whether it's food or some entertainment at a cocktail hour or a live artist painting, something just to keep that energy going. Because when people sit for too long, and I've noticed this 1,000 times over, like if they sit, they become lethargic.
Yes.
They need that stimulation because we're used to it. We're used to being in our phone all day. We're used to being digital all day. They need that continual stimuli to, feel really good. And a great party, whether it's a reception or a corporate event, a great party is the one that they're talking about the next day.
Yep. Yeah, something engaging, something interactive. I mean, you touched on it. A photo booth. You said the live artist, someone that does caricatures. Anything that can get people talking and moving and mingling works really well. And it's awesome to have at the cocktail hour.
Yeah, I have a magician that is just off the chain, out of this world. He's been on the Ellen Show. He's been on a lot of different shows that I could name, but putting him in for cocktail hour,
Yep.
like just for 1 hour while you're getting your golden hour photos, like he will keep everyone laughing and smiling and energy, and you maintain that energy before they go into the reception. And I
Yes.
think that's really important because energy drains during cocktail hour. If they're hungry and there's
Yep.
not enough food or there's not enough drinks or enough hydration, like you can easily drain them before they even come into the receptions. I wish more couples would think about a little bit of affordable entertainment for their cocktail hour, not
Yeah.
just the reception.
I actually had a mentalist or illusionist at my wedding back in 2019. I think,
That's so
ironically,
cool.
Dawn, I think I booked through you and discovered,
Later.
years later. I mean, he was a hit. He was an absolute hit, and he mingled with the crowd and the guests during cocktail hour, and it got conversation going, and people are still talking about it. And it's, something that's a little bit unique. You don't see it all the time. And, that creates a great conversation piece too.
Yeah, but unique is good.
Unique
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah, like who wants the same old, same old? Like I don't want to
Right.
go to a wedding or any party for that matter and, think I got to go to this wedding. I got
Right.
to listen to all these speeches. I got, and just add water. That's actually one of the things I love about Generation Z brides. And I
Mhm.
said this at the Sip and Shop, and I'm going to say it again. 30 years ago when I got married, could have never worn a black dress. You couldn't even wear black to a wedding. If you
Right.
wore black to a wedding as a guest, that was taboo. And what I love about this generation is that they have been the first generation to claim it and say,
Yes.
it's my
Yes.
wedding. With all respect, mom, dad, grandma, I want to do this wedding my way. And if that means a hot red, scarlet red dress, or they, want to wear a mini skirt, or they want mom to walk them down the aisle, or they don't want a cake and they want donuts, or whatever it is that they want. And I love that we, as members of this industry, we get to walk into a wedding and it's like,
And
I
see
love
something
that
new.
they do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And see
Yes.
something new. And that's why I think I had actually, I put one of the pro posts up in the group and I said, hey, share your ideas. What's something unique that you're doing with your wedding? Because, I'm a planner, but I want to hear them too. I'm looking for vision and for inspiration. So do that, couples, Pittsburgh brides. Share those in
Taylor.
the chat with us.
Any feedback on that, Taylor? Your
No, I
generation.
agree. No, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I was at one of the first ones we did in June. She actually did a temporary tattoo stand, and it was really, really cool.
That's fun.
I actually have like my husband got one. Like this one little girl, she had like a sleeve full of them. Like, everybody was just having the best time putting on these tattoos. Like I think they were all gone by the end of the night, and the first time I really heard about it being at a wedding, and I was like, oh, I wonder how it's gonna go. They were such a hit. I mean, like even me and my husband got tats that night. I mean, it was a blast.
Yeah.
Immersive entertainment and
Yes,
something
for sure.
different. Right?
Yes.
Win-win. All right, let's go to another question. All right, Cara,
Yes.
I know this is your wheelhouse. I'm going to send this one your way.
Okay.
What's a good approach to managing hidden costs like gratuities, delivery fees, rentals, etc.? How do couples navigate that? Because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know.
Right. So I think, this is one where I go back to advocating for hiring a planner or a coordinator, because that is one of the things that he or she is going to help you navigate at the beginning. So you're going to, if you bring a planner on first or a coordinator, and you book your venue, that planner is going to help you look through that contract and say, oh, wait, dinnerware is not included in here. You're going to need to rent those linens. Tables are not here. There's an additional labor charge there. So that's where I feel like the cost of a planner can be offset by some of those savings, and you're not going to be, alarmed by those things whenever you see them. And it's helpful if you don't have a planner or a coordinator that's working alongside you, ask whenever you see those contracts, is there anything that I may not be thinking of that is not included? Ask those questions. They're definitely okay to ask. Read through the fine print of that agreement. Don't just sign that in DocuSign and send it over electronically. Read through all of those clauses. They're detailed for a reason. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence there.
Parking, I know, is one of them that for the makeup artists that
Yeah.
sometimes shocks some of our brides. Taylor, do you have anything on that to add to that?
Yeah, can I just bounce on what Cara said? I think it comes back to, I know you're excited to book that vendor. I know you're excited to book that caterer, that photographer, or anything like that. But yeah, just mainly just make sure you read through everything, because you don't want to sign and be like, oh no, I wish I would have read that before signing. And then again, too, when you read through, you might come up with more questions you just want to verify beforehand. So it's kind of taking that deep breath and just taking your time as you book each vendor. I cannot stress that enough.
Yep.
And
Ask all the questions. All the
Yes, all the
questions.
questions.
Yeah.
Cannot stress that enough. Ask all the questions.
And do your due diligence. And I did a podcast on that. I believe it's podcast 101 and 104. If you have not yet seen them, you should if you're in the beginning phase of planning your wedding, because it's so critically important for you to know how to properly vet your vendors and do your due diligence. And these days, it's not just enough to take word of mouth or a recommendation on a post in Facebook. The world is a dangerous place and there's a lot of
Very
bad things
true.
happening, and bad things happen to good people. And so that's one of my
Protect your
missions as
investment.
well. Protect your investment, protect your budget.
Absolutely.
And it's just a little bit of due diligence can go a long way towards no headaches and no stress. Right, ladies?
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay, let's go into, I had a question for Taylor. Are there any vendor negotiation tips or industry tricks that you would recommend for couples to use that would save them money?
If they are able to, especially sometimes with venues, I think we were kind of touching on this earlier, if they're able to get more of a discount, if they do have more services under one roof, sometimes, I know we had one bride where, the DJ owned the venue. So obviously they got a good discount if they use their
Yeah.
DJ. And again, same thing with linens and all that. Sometimes the more you group under one roof, sometimes that can save you versus individually trying to buy a lot of things like that. And that's something to always again, another question to ask, if there's any additional or a la carte items that can be added on for a discount, and maybe even compare prices to see if it is worth just bundling it together versus individually going to look for everything.
I agree with that. One of our admins, Brian Jones from Pittsburgh Entertainment. I mean,
Yeah.
they do photographers, they do videographers, they do DJs, they do photo booths.
Mhm.
I know he can prepare a good bundle for you.
Yep. So bundle
You
it.
know,
Yeah.
Bundle it up and
For y-
for savings. Yep, absolutely.
We love to bundle. And okay, let's go on. I'm pulling these questions up for you, brides. If you have any questions, you can drop a comment for us and we'll try and get to it. If we don't get to it this week, we'll get to it next week. Okay, here's a big one. How can couples communicate effectively about finances with their parents or other family members if they're contributing? How do you navigate those waters, make everyone happy, get what you need? Any
Yeah.
insights?
So I think you first want to be gracious. This is a gift that whatever said family member is going to bestow upon you. So be gracious and be thankful, but have open and honest conversations to start. Hey, mom and dad, we're thinking of having it here. The venue is going to cost X amount. What are your thoughts about that? If they say that they're interested in contributing, what specifically do you want to contribute to? Are you thinking that you'd like to give us a lump sum? Are you going to pay for the alcohol? Have those conversations so you have those clear boundaries set and you know what you're navigating.
Good answer. Good answer. And here's a follow-up to that. I've seen on a lot of the groups, brides are asking, I want to ask for money for my gifts. I don't want, people to bring me a bunch of gifts that, we have everything that we need. We have a house already. Thoughts on that, lady?
I think I could understand a little bit, because I know, especially now, a lot of couples have been living together before their weddings. Now, not everybody, but some have. So again, they have the pots and pans, they got the couch, they got a lot of stuff what they need. A creative way I've seen couples word it is sometimes they'll have a rainy day fund on their registry. I've seen that. Or just even restaurant gift cards, just everyday things that maybe that could be useful to them. even too, there's other I know resources where you can just have a honeymoon fund in general, but I've seen the rainy day fund. That way they can use the funds for whatever they need instead of registering for things that they maybe don't need at this point.
Cara?
Yeah, I think if you mention it in a subtle way, so on the website, on the invitation, and that's then done with like a little bit of tact, that's usually helpful. And then sometimes it goes a long way to say what you may be using it for, and that can even be a bit vague. So like if you'd like to help us, with our honeymoon or home renovations, people love to hear kind of, what that gift is going to. So it doesn't need to be like uber specific, but, just a tad bit of information I think is helpful whenever you share that with your guests.
And when I saw this comment, one of the other wedding planners, Tiffany from Tiffany and Design, she answered it very well also. She said, just don't put a registry down. And most people are going to put money or a financial gift in a card. And I was like, that seems to be the path of least resistance and
Yeah, I
less
think
awkward.
yeah, very true. And I would say, I mean, my weddings this year, and I know people send gifts to the home ahead of time and things like that, but I mean, the majority are going to be, cards. I see maybe 2 to 3 gifts hit that gift table. Usually I think it is a cash gift and a card that guests are giving as a gift.
Okay. Give me, ladies, I'm going to ask each one of you. Let's go back and forth and do a fire round and I'm start with Taylor. Give me some ways to save money that are not cutting the guest list, because that's always like the first go-to, cut the guest list. You have a big family. He has a big family. It's going to be a big wedding. It's not going to be easy for you to cut the guest list. Give me some ways. Let's shoot back and forth with some good ways to save money on your wedding.
Again, I will always go back to this decor from other resources like resale sites, because again, buying that stuff at retail price can get very expensive very quickly. So being able to have any ways to save on decor is always, like I said, a go-to for me.
Cara?
Repurpose decor. So think of things, have a vision. If you're using aisle markers, repurpose those and use them in centerpieces or on your accent tables in your reception space so that you're not buying something twice. You can use those florals or those decorations more than once.
And I know that I've seen this hack before where they've done a smaller wedding cake,
Absolutely.
a
Yep.
cutting cake,
Yep.
and then had a big sheet cake in the back that's the same flavor, same everything
Yeah.
to cut and serve. I mean, if you're
Or
looking
do
to
a
save
dessert
money,
table. Do a dessert table.
right?
We're in Pittsburgh, so we have the 8 of our cookie table as well. So add some individual desserts to that, and you can still have the beauty of a wedding cake. You can still have the ceremonial cake cutting, the aesthetic of it, but maybe just scale it down a bit so that you're not paying for a 3 or 4 tiered cake, but you still get the same effect and get the same look, and the beauty of one as well.
I've seen a lot of brides lately in the group asking for a photographer for just these hours. Like, I just want you, from the ceremony to golden hour, just instead of like the all day service,
Right.
which I think is lending towards their budgeting.
Yep.
And while there's some photographers that maybe are not interested in that, I know there would be plenty that would. Again, maybe some new photographers, because we do want to support, those
Yep.
new businesses. It's really important that we have this younger generation coming in and leading the way, or, following our tails so that we can retire.
Yeah. And to that, maybe hire or contract with a photographer where you just have a sole photographer. So you're not bringing on a second shooter and have that added expense, and work with your timeline so that you can get the shots that you want. So oftentimes, there are really great photographers I know with Pittsburgh brides and in the Pittsburgh community that they're super accommodating. So if you want shots of the girls and shots of the guys getting ready, they are going to do their best to make that happen. And you can, with a strategic and carefully planned timeline, get those photographs that you want.
I would also say that, it's often questioned the cost of a wedding planner, but I don't think what the couples realize is what they can save with a wedding planner. And that wedding planner, from the very get-go, if they hire them, and it's one of the first hires that they make in this process, and that wedding planner can help them find a venue on budget, a venue with the most amenities, the most decor, the most things that are going to be added in that are going to be all-inclusive and help them save money. I know some
Absolutely.
venues that have everything,
Yep.
the food, the decor, the chauffeur service, the DJ, they have the cold sparklers, they have everything. And the wedding planners has that personal insight to tap into that, get a vibe for you and what you want for your wedding, and then say, okay, try this one, this one, this one. They can help you with those reservations. They can also help you with negotiating your contracts,
Yes.
which will
Yes.
save you money because they're going to be able to look and see, you're paying, an extra $4,000 or $5,000 for this, and this is not really something that you need for your wedding day.
Correct.
It may be
Correct.
because
Sure.
it's new to you, you don't see that, but
Mhm.
they see it.
Yeah. Or you don't need 10 hours of photography service because, reasonably you're going to be ready at noon and not 10 a.m. I mean, things like that to take into consideration. And one thing to add to that about, considering the cost of a planner, and I don't want to speak for all planners, but planners, I think, are also willing to negotiate as well. So let's say, for example, you need someone to coordinate day of. I'm a strong believer that planners need to have information ahead of the day. So I, don't believe there's truly a day of, which we've talked about in another podcast. But let's say you need that day of coordination and a little bit of pre-planning, but not necessarily all the meetings that may be included in a planner's package. For example, I'll offer like, hey, we can cut those meetings out and decrease the cost a bit or push those meetings to Zoom. So those are conversations. Don't be shy about having them whenever you hire a planner and other vendors. You can more likely than not find someone that will work within your budget.
And Taylor, I know that brides can also save money by booking off season, off days. You want to talk a little bit about that?
For sure, because I know in general for wedding planners, whether it's, can be November, December, January, February, March, sometimes those are considered the off season. So again, that's always a question you can ask while you're looking for your vendor to say, do you have any type of off season pricing? And I know, at least I know for myself, I mean, I do payment plans as well to make the stressful, take the stress off a little bit. Obviously like a deposit, but try to stretch it out a little bit. That way they can save up for it, or again just put it within their budget for all their other deposits as well. So, and like
Yeah.
Kara was saying, a lot of the planners are very flexible, and as long as you kind of keep them in the loop and tell them your situation, it's usually pretty easy to come up with a solution as long as they're on the same page with each other.
And
I
even the
mean,
venues, I think the same thing. If you contact a
absolutely.
venue
Yeah.
and you're favoring a venue, you can say, can I do a Friday or a
Yeah.
Sunday?
Yep.
What can you do for me? I just did a Sunday brunch wedding at the Priory. It was gorgeous. It was amazing. It was everything that the Priory offers. It
Mm-hmm.
was just a Sunday brunch. It was the sweetest wedding. So that's another path that you can go if budget is really constrained for you.
I mean, with a planner, perhaps you can ask that planner to modify their package where they're not staying until the very end of the evening, but they're leaving after formalities and things. And so,
Mhm.
you could have pretty substantial savings there, but then you at least have someone to help with the logistical formalities of the start of the day. So again, I think it's really important. Don't be shy about having those conversations. I mean, I learned in sales a long time ago when I worked in sales, like go for the no. Like what's the worst thing they can say? No. So definitely
Mhm.
ask. And I think more often than not, you'd be pleasantly surprised at the response you get.
And as an entertainment company, I'm always willing to work with our couples. I'm like, if you want to pay your invoice in full, maybe I can give you 10%.
Yeah.
As
Mhm.
opposed
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
payout. It depends on the time of year. We don't really have a slow time of year because I do a lot of corporate in the fall and the winter, and then spring hits and I'm right into wedding season. But for the most part, I try to find ways to accommodate and help them save money as well.
Yeah.
And most businesses will. You just have to ask, go for the
Yeah.
no. I like that.
I mean, I think that most professionals in this industry are involved on some level because they like people, right? So we all like interacting with people. There's that human perspective and that human touch that goes along with it. So I think that lends itself to saying that people will try to be as accommodating as they can to your needs and vision.
Because as a
Agreed.
planner, you care about the day as much as they do, so you're in your
Absolutely.
power to, do everything you can, to help in any way that you can. So that's why I agree, like, whether it's, venues, vendors, like, usually they will bend over backwards for you to try to help in any way that they can. Because I've met some of the kindest people in this industry, again, whether it's a vendor, a venue, a Facebook page owner,
Yeah.
anyone like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing to really see.
I was at a venue today, and the venue coordinator there was telling my client, she said, "You really can't go wrong in Pittsburgh. We have really great people in Pittsburgh." And I think that's true. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
great, it's like, it's a city, but it's a small town community. And I think the industry within that is the wedding industry is close knit, and there are some really great people to help our couples out.
Absolutely.
I agree, but I also am going to be cautionary
Yes.
with anyone because just because someone refers you or you found someone on a wedding website and maybe they have those badges and best of this and best of that, like there are situations that can be problematic and you just need to do a little bit of due diligence. Like, please go watch that podcast 104. Learn how to verify your vendors.
Yes.
Make sure that they're listed
Yes.
with the Secretary of State. Make sure they have insurance. Make sure to get 3 referrals from them from weddings this year. Make sure they're current because I don't want to see a review on a performer or makeup artist or a DJ or a caterer that's 2 years old.
Right.
That is of no relevance to
Mhm.
me planning a wedding for my daughter or granddaughter because that's a 4-year gap. Your wedding is, 24 months away and the review is 2 years old. That's 4
Hmm.
years. Like so much can happen. And I don't think that people really recognize that. And I've had brides come to us and they like, I read the reviews and everything looked good and I hired them and now I'm in this hot mess. And unfortunately, we've had quite a few of those lately. And I think as the economy gets
Yeah.
strained, we have a tendency to get more and more of those because, I don't know if people are I don't want to say that they're bad people, but I think sometimes that they're just financially compromised or they're overworked and they're working 2 or 3 jobs and they're just, their heart and their passion is just not into it like it once was. But we've had a couple. I have a podcast coming up with a
Hmm.
girl named Jenna that, boy, she went a couple rounds with a makeup artist and it was like pulling teeth to get her money back when she decided to move forward with another artist. And, at the end of the day, it's the couple's responsibility to do their due diligence. It's no one else's. Like if a wedding planner recommends someone to you and that person takes your money and ghosts you, girls, do you think the wedding
Hmm.
planner is going to give them their money back?
Love you, but no.
No, no. And at
Unfortunately.
the end of the day, like, only the person that signed the contract and paid them knows what happened within that contract. And that's why it's so important, I think, for you to go right to the source and go right to the most recent couples and just ask them the last 3 weddings you did this year. You would give it up, right, Taylor?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had a bride, and she was actually almost like afraid to ask me, is there any recent reviews or anything? And I was like, yeah, go to my Google page. I'm more than happy to give you the names and a phone number of a couple of my bride, which again, I always like ask them ahead of time, like if this were to happen, is this okay for me to refer
Yeah.
them? So I'll just freely give out phone numbers or anything like that.
Right,
But
right.
but that's me. I tell them like, go check my Google reviews. I have my Facebook reviews. If you want me to send them to you personally, I will. Because I agree. I think having the most recent information possible from events that you've done recently is very, very useful in making a decision. And again, due diligence cannot. I will
Yeah.
not stop stressing that enough. Due diligence.
I
And
think it's a
brides love to brag.
I think it's a good sign when you have a vendor that is freely offering up those
Yeah.
references.
Yeah.
Hey, these are my references. Please call them. Please contact them. I think that's a good sign.
One of our DJs, DJ Jason Hinkle, and he's on the site pittsburghbrides.com.
Amazing,
He
by the way.
he is amazing, but he has an ongoing list. He asks them when when
Yeah.
they're happy with services and everything, do you mind if I put you on my referral list? And he has like an ongoing active list that he keeps current. I think that's so smart.
That is very
That's
smart.
smart.
All right. All right. I'm looking through. What's the first step couples should take to start creating their wedding budget? We went over that. I think we've covered a lot. Is there anything that you think that we missed?
Now, I mean, I think save for another time is maybe getting into more of like the nitty gritty and the specifics of budget and what percentages, of your budget
Hmm.
certain things should be. We can save that to talk about next time. Or if our brides want to ask questions, please, I'm sure, I know I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about more specific terrific things. I think I think we covered more of the general stuff that we wanted to talk about.
I agree. And I want to first apologize for the tech issues that we had in the beginning of this podcast because I'm learning still. We're always learning. And so I'm learning
Is
the
it a full
software.
moon? I think it's a full moon
It might
because
be. It might be.
I think it is. And something I have three different, I have buds and these and nothing wanted to work tonight. And they worked last time.
So just so you know, you can find Taylor Myers of Myers Precision Planning on pittsburghbrides.com under talent. You can shoot her a message if you'd like to get some information on booking her as your day of planner for your wedding, or Cara Svetkovich of Caristia Events. She is also on pittsburghbrides.com. You can go there and send her a message if you're interested in getting a quote from her, as well as we have plenty others there as well. We really have a great group of planners
Absolutely.
in our group, and some new ones. And if you're interested in being a pro with Pittsburgh Brides, I welcome you to reach out to me. We can have a conversation. We can set up a Zoom call. You can go to pittsburghbrides.com/join. I know both of these ladies have personally told me that they have had a great deal of benefit from participating and being a part of Pittsburgh Brides, and that means a lot to me. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
very, very much
Sure.
so. So if I can do my little plug for you, I'd like
Plug
to.
away, babe. Plug away.
Pittsburgh Brides, I mean, aside from the community perspective, which I've already mentioned that I love so much and I think is so helpful and just heartwarming. I mean, I've had quite a few leads come through. I book most of my business from Pittsburgh Brides. Again, I think it's because of that conversation and the format that Dawn has set this up in, where people can, we're giving advice, we're receiving advice, and it's really a great place to be. I've actually stopped advertising with other people because this has just been so is promising for me. So I can't say enough good things, and definitely will be an advocate for you. She is not blowing smoke whenever she says that she wants to mentor this newer generation of pros coming into the industry. That is indeed true, and I can testify to that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And with that said, is there any last final thoughts for either of you?
I'm looking to see. I have some notes that I was jotting down.
Taylor, tell me what your superpower is. Everybody has a superpower that no one knows. What's your superpower?
Superpower is that I have a husband behind the scenes that does stuff that everyone thinks that I did it.
Yes.
Like, I totally hung that from the ceiling. It was totally me. I'm just kidding. I love my husband. But she gets it.
Yeah. I have one of those too. There was it was a reel or a meme, and I can't remember. I saw it somewhere, and it was a planner, and it said like my husband or partner signed up for the like applied for the job he didn't want, or got the job he didn't know he was applying for. I think that's very true.
So we had the camper out in Johnstown this weekend, and I'm inside. I'm checking the software because I know the software better than anyone, and I'm trying to get the lighting right for the black and white portraits that they wanted to get that glam shot. And my husband sneaks outside and he pulls out his phone and he's getting pictures of the brides as they're getting their pictures done from the photographer, and of the venue and of other things. And he's posting on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
You've come so far. Like, before he would be so, like, not his cup of tea, but I love that about him. He's not afraid to dive in, and, he's even getting into the social media thing for me. Brides, if you have any questions for us, we'll be back next Wednesday, going live, hopefully on time next week. Hopefully I will figure out the software or pay someone to figure it out for me, which is probably a more reasonable path. But I thank you for being a part of Pittsburgh Brides community, 13,300 strong and growing, 180 just this week. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And we're here for you. To make no mistake about it, we are here for the brides. That's what we're here for, is to help you on your journey however we can. If you have any questions for us, let us know, and we'll try and hit them up on our next podcast next week when we go live. And other planners, Tiffany, Emily, Lindsay, who else did I miss? I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
We want to get you here in the hot seat, because I think the wedding planners just bring so much to the table and so much insight that's so valuable. And we have some great things coming up with that soon that I'll share with you in the fall. Don't forget to go to our contest. Go to YouTube, Pittsburgh Brides, and make sure to make a comment so you can get that social content creator for your wedding. Ladies, it's been a pleasure. Taylor, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Cara, thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you.
hope to see you on another podcast soon. I'm going to rotate in.
Yep.
And maybe on full moons, I'll give Cara moderation duties.
Maybe you should give me the night off on a full moon. I think maybe that's... Yeah.
Hey, everybody.